Every Anonn in 4chan liked directs a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just south of Chartres, did not. The Grinch hated directs, the hypest of seasons. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on quite right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely of possible flags was to stop all the shitposting from roster fags. Whatever the reasons, his pros and his cons, he just sat there seething while hating Anons. But as his computer, the Grinch lost his decorum at the fast-flowing threads on the anime forum. For he knew every Anon in 4chan can't resist posting in every one with their newcomers list. And they're posting their mains, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's the direct, it's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop the direct from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the women and men would wake bright and early and they'd shitpost again. And then, oh the salt, 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 salt. If there's one thing he hated, it's salt, 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 salt. Then Anons, young and old, would sit down with a toast, and they'd post, and they'd post, and they'd post, 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 post. They'd post their new Wojak and rare greenish toad, which enraged the Grinch almost enough to explode. And then they'd do something he could never forget. Every Anon in 4chan, both Chad and Manlet, would stand close together as the direct was waning. They'd stand face to face, and they'd all start complaining. They'd bitch, and they'd bitch, and they'd bitch, 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 bitch. And the more the Grinch thought of what the direct would bring, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 200 days I've put up with it now. I must stop this direct from coming. But how? And then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Mario hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. Mr. Grinch, you're so sly. With this cat and hat and this coat, I look just like Sakurai. All I need is a princess. The Grinch looked around. But since peaches are scarce, there were none to be found. Did that stop old Grinch? No! The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a princess, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog, Max, and he took some red thread, and he tied a pink crown to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he mounted old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Gee up!" and the sleigh started toward to the homes where Anons lay a snooze in their board. All the windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All Anons were all dreaming sweet dreams without care, when he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Grinch hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Saki could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, but he pushed on ahead. Then he stuck his head out to a Smash Brothers thread, where the little predictions all shone in a row. Newcomers, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and snuck like a cheeky wee blighter around the whole room, and he took every fighter. Ashley, Chrono, Funky Kong, Tetra, Pokemon, Adeline, Birdo, Hat Goomba, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all of the bags, one by one, up the chimney. And he slunk a roll around, and he took the new mode. He took the new spirit, stripped it right from the code. He cleaned out the classics as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the game mode, Target Smash. Then he stuffed the whole game up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff DLC And the Grinch grabbed the code, and he started to shove, but he heard a small sound, like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, to a startling view, the Pokemon Pichu, who was just level 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny wee mouse, who'd got out of bed to go to the outhouse. She stared at the Grinch, and said, "Sakurai, why? Why are you taking our newcomers? Why?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little thought," the fake Sakurai lied, "there's a hitbox on here that just goes a bit wide. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the mouse. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and sent her off to bed. And when Pichu went home to her bed with her cup, he went to the chimney, and he stuffed the lot up. Then the last thing he took was the noose for Tom Nook, and he went up the chimney himself, the old crook. On the walls he left nothing but wire and hook, and one speck of content he decided to leave was a default skin too stupid to ever believe. Then he did the same thing to the other board's threads, leaving nothing behind but some pieces and shreds. It was 1:15 dawn, all Anonn's all abed, all Anonn still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their fighters, their music, their stages, the echoes, the online, the salt and the rages. 3,000 feet up on the side of Mount Quake-It, he rode with his load to the tip-top to break it. "Pooh-pooh to Anonn," he was grinchiously humming. "They're finding out now that no direct is coming. They're just waking up, I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, then Anonn's down in 4chan will all cry, boo-hoo." "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at 4chan. The Grinch popped his eyes, and he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Anonn in 4chan, the tall and the small, shitposting without any new news at all. He hadn't stopped the direct from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without fanfare, with little agog. It came with just Isabel, an echo-ish dog. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Smash Hype, he thought, doesn't come from Nintendo. Maybe Smash Hype, perhaps, comes from hearts of all men. And what happened then? Well, in 4chan they say that the Grinch's thin skin grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his skin didn't feel quite so thin, he whizzed out his load and threw the outrageous din, and he bought back the fighters, not as an imposter, and he himself, the Grinch, leaked the ultimate roster. Oh, fucking hell. Never again.